Malcolm Forbes said, "Failure is success if we learn from it."
I love that because there's a qualifier in there first. It's like if we choose to learn from it, assuming that we will fail. A lot of people I think sometimes set themselves up to not fail because they never take any kind of risk. If you live your whole life that way, though, I guarantee you're going to have some regrets that you're holding at the end of your life about not doing more, not trying something. So, in this episode of Curiosity Continuum, Josh is going to talk about all the things that he fails at and is terrible at, and I'm going to laugh at him, and you shall join me in my laughter. I'm just kidding. Seriously, join us today. Formulate some of your own memories of how you failed and what you learned from it today on Failure is an Option on Curiosity Continuum.
Hey everybody, this is Josh.
And this is Brian.
Thank you for joining us today on Curiosity Continuum. For those of you turning in the first time, Curiosity Continuum is a podcast and movement started by two lifelong friends who want to spark your curiosity, help you integrate information, enhance your everyday contextual awareness in a constantly changing world by sharing conversations with you that explore, examine, and reframe common practical topics.
You can find us at curiositycontinuum.com. There you can find all the links to listen to us on your favorite podcast channel. Follow us on social media and interact with us. Send us a note, submit a question. And one of the best things you can do is also rate the podcast on your favorite channel. That helps us find new audiences through some of the algorithms at the podcast demigods known as Apple and Google and all those different folks. And one of the nicest things that we can hear from you listeners, the intrepid adventurers, is the conversations you're having from these podcasts with other people. And that's one of the largest goals here is to help start that whole thing. So, failure is an option. Usually, we hear failure is not an option. And that's actually not true. Because if you're able to succeed at something, you have the possibility of failure. And if you can't fail, it's kind of like when they used to, I used to have those little like PVC tubes or like guards in bowling when you're little and you're terrible at rolling a ball down.
The bumpers?
Yeah. I mean, as an adult, I could probably use those now too to help improve my game.
Yeah. My score of 90 will tell you I need those.
And that's with the bumpers, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, but everybody, if I play Wii bowling, I get like 250. So I'm good.
Worst game of bowling I ever did, and I actually tried. It was 19. It was like super embarrassing. It was like, I actually tried. Obviously, I didn't have the bumpers in play.
Obviously, you didn't try very hard.
Well, I tried awful hard for that awful score, Josh.
Okay, so just to put that in context, were you a little kid? Or was it just like last year?
It wasn't last year, but I was a grown adult and almost a grown adult. I'll say this. I was old enough to know better, and it's just like my skill level.
To know that 19 was bad?
To know that 19 was bad, yeah. And I might have been I might have actually like bowled my age. I mean, at the time.
You're right.
So it was like not good. Anyway, I was thinking about this as we were talking about this topic today, because Josh and I kind of toss ideas back and forth what we could talk about. I want to drop this mind nugget on you guys just as we kind of launch out into the deep here. Failure means you've hit the end of what is currently possible. It means you've butted up against something where you've kind of gone over the edge or something didn't quite work or there's something, right? But it means that it's currently possible. It means that you're tapping on the edge of something new or improving who you are. Like if you're trying something good, not like you're trying to like have moral failure or anything like that, usually don't try for that type of failure. I'm saying like the type of failure that actually like is bettering you and the people around you.
You're talking about like a tangible failure.
Yeah.
Like you tried something and you just were really crap at it.
Yeah, you janked it real bad, to put it like that. There's an example that comes to mind. It was the 4-minute mile. And so in 1954, a guy named Roger Bannister actually broke the 4-minute mile barrier. And it was like 3 minutes, 59.4 seconds. And this is so interesting to me because, that was a generation before I walked the earth. And the idea of a 4-minute mile was like the impossible thing that nobody could do it. And people had built this like mental thing up to go like, they were failing because they're like, it's not possible for a human being to do it.
Didn't even try.
Right. And then somebody tried. And how many times did Roger Bannister fail at running a 4-minute mile until he didn't? But it opened up the realm of possibility to so many others where they were met with failure, and it almost gave them permission to go like, you can do this, try again. And that's
Right.
going back to the quote earlier. If we learn from it, we can turn that into a success. And now there's been, other folks that have come along and even beaten that record. And I think it's wonderful because now you've moved what's possible because other people have failed forward in what they're doing.
There is a lot of examples of people, like, if you don't try, you can't do it. And you for sure can't do it. I always say, everybody always will. I don't know if this is an example of a failure, but I will say it. Like, if you don't play the lottery, you can't win. So if I'm so worried about not winning the lottery that I am just going to never buy a ticket.
That's kind of lame, Josh.
It is lame, but I'm never saying like, I mean, this is a totally different thing, but I'm not saying like, okay, so I'm never going to win that, so I'm never going to buy a ticket. It's kind of like the 4-minute mile. If you never try, you're never going to know if you can do it, right? Come on.
You just compared buying a lotto ticket to the 4-minute mile.
No, not really. I'm comparing winning the lottery to a 4-minute.
I got it. Well, in that case, it is possible.
Okay, that is kind of lame. Maybe we should just
lame.
edit that out.
No, leave it in there. It's good. It's an organic process here, folks. I'll tell you this. I'll tell you where I got where I failed because I didn't try. And that was actually my first F in school. Was in 5th grade. It was in Mrs. Mishler's class. And we had to do a rock collection. And so, you had to type out what kind of rock it was and stuff. And saw some examples. And for some reason, I was always pretty diligent, but I just did not do it. And so like the night before, I'm out in my rock, little rock area in my house, like finding rocks. Oh, that's like a grayish color one. That'll work. And I put about 12 of them in an egg carton. Like I didn't even
granite.
Yeah, I know, exactly. I didn't even like decorate the egg carton, and it was handwritten. And then what I actually did is I took a piece of 8.5 by 11 notebook paper and actually like folded it and like licked the edges and tore off some of the paper so it was a smaller page, and I wrote bigger. And it was awful,
So
and
that's 5th grade, you said?
that was 5th grade. And I followed a guy named Tom Harkman who had like typed it out. And this is when, typing something out was a big deal. And he had spent a lot of time. I'm like, oh crap. And I followed him. It was, he actually tried. And I remember I got it back and it said F. And Mrs. Mishler said, I see very little effort in this, Brian. And I'm like, well, that's true because I just tried to throw it together. I failed because I didn't try. There's failure that comes when you try, and there's failure because like you just didn't put effort in. And that's not, we're telling people you should fail because you tried and you put effort in. I tell my children often that, I don't expect you to be perfect. I don't necessarily say you need to get an A every single time, but I need to see your effort because that means more to me than whatever grade you get on something. That means a lot to anybody. So, hey, at least the person tried. It meant that they had some type of...
Has a sincere effort forward to actually do something.
Yeah. Minimum requirement stuff here doesn't apply. There's excellence that goes beyond that. So, anyway, Josh, I have a memory of the crappy fish from...
yes. Actually, the
yes.
best fish. It was the best fish, but we will tell the story.
It was the worst fish. So Josh and I shared, was it 8th or 7th grade? I don't remember.
8th grade.
We did some good work in that class, and we did some terrible work in that class.
It was an art class, which, for us was... I think both of us are kind of challenged in the drawing area.
Challenge is like the very nice, polite way of saying
We
just
suck?
when it's like like when Southerners say "bless your heart," what they're really saying is "sucks to be you" right now.
Oh, bless your heart.
Oh, bless your heart. Your pea picking heart or whatever. This, so our fishes were actually very they had a nice shape to them.
I think we should go back and say like what we were doing. Like,
Oh,
just
yeah,
you
we
say
should do that.
fishes, and
it's
first of all,
like,
it's
what's going
fish.
on?
It's not science class, so it's fish.
Right.
And
And it's art class. So
and
these
it's
are
art
not
class, and we had to make like these. They were like paper mache.
Papier-mâché.
Fish.
Yeah. So this is we had to actually make the fish and give it a tail and some whatever, and it was really awesome. We had some of the best looking fish. We had curves and until we had to paint it.
It was really good.
Yeah.
I was actually impressed with myself.
Until we had to paint it, and then we're like, oh my gosh. And Josh and I are not painters. I
No.
can barely paint like walls on my house well, so
Yeah.
to try to do like a fine detailed work of a fish, it just ended up like a dumpster fire. This thing,
Oh,
what began
gosh.
as like, A for infrastructure ended up in like a Z minus probably for the execution. But
Right.
we had a teacher named Ms. Lundblad, and she actually liked us, which is, it was a good boon for us in terms of making a grade in that class,
Yeah.
because we gave ourselves a B in honesty, just
Well,
because.
let's remember what she said. She goes, "What would you grade your work?"
Yeah, and then Josh and I are the honest guys in the class, so it wasn't like, ooh, this is like the best fish ever,
I said we
Trying
had
to
the
sell
best
it.
fish till we started painting it, and she actually agreed with us.
Yeah. So
She's like, "Yeah, you did. You have a very good fish." She goes, "But then you painted it." That's like the first time. I don't think teachers are supposed to do that.
no,
Like, they're not supposed to say, "Yeah, it did," and then now it sucks. So
No, it
you
sucks.
gotta grade on the suckage curve.
but she actually let us pick our grade, and she didn't like reduce our grade. So
No,
there.
in fact,
there's
she
a-
even told us she would have gave us B pluses.
I know.
And I said,
So
look, this is like a solid C plus work, but I'm gonna bump it up to a B,
The B.
just because.
the moral of the story is you don't have because you don't ask. So don't be afraid to ask. And then also those relationships that you build with people who are in authority above you, it's kind of a good thing when you need it to be able to pull that favor out when you don't deserve it,
But the moral here, like the real lesson is it does pay to fail, because what did we learn from that? Like I personally learned that it was not just good to try, but it was also a worthwhile exercise to do something that was out of our comfort zone.
And I learned that I'll never be a professional painter ever in my life,
Right.
nor should I try to make money doing
You're no Picasso.
that. Actually,
Actually, that was more like a Picasso than it was like a
well, yeah, we started out with high
Da
ambition.
Vinci.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that didn't quite work out the way it is. There wasn't an idea of nailed it back then, but we absolutely nailed that fish.
Yet anatomically correct, this fish is terrible.
Yes,
Nailed it.
nailed it. The funny thing, I since I've been older, as I go along in life, I'll put it that way, so I don't sound like, yes, and you're 125 years old. I really value what I'm not good at and what I'm not. It was actually in my 30s when I really began to understand who I was by understanding what I
was the 1930s, right?
yes yes with the old timey everything was black and white then, believe it or not. It wasn't until later.
Sorry,
color came
okay.
in.
I'll just let you go. I'm going to edit part of that out.
Okay. When you have giftings and you're kind of exploring it, you realize, oh, I'm pretty good at this, or I'm good at this. But when you understand, like I'm not great at that. I didn't hit it the way I wanted to. There's a point where it's like, as you're failing, sometimes there's also a realization of, you know what, I shouldn't spend my time doing that. Sometimes the things are, so you'll hear conflicting advice from like leadership people, turn your failures into strengths. And other people say, focus on your strengths and forget your failures. And what we're saying is that just be circumspect about where those things are, where you're strong and where you're weak, because you're not equally good at everything. And so sometimes when you fail, you go
Correct.
like, this is where I'm great and I know I'm getting better. And sometimes it's like, I shouldn't spend more time doing it because I only have so much time on this earth and I'm never going to be great at that, but it's really good because it helps you focus. And then like you're spending that time. If you're failing, you're going like, but this is unto something better and great.
And I do think, too, it helps you to seek out people that maybe will fill in the gaps to where you lack. And that's like, for example, Brian, like you're self-employed. So like you can't be good at everything. And so you have to have a wide network of people that you can call upon to help you.
Yeah, I'm a Swiss Army knife in the way where how I work, but oh my goodness, like one of the things that I do well is connect people, because I kind of see how this plus this equals something great, or this could work together. And so I have to know also too, like where like I've kind of outkicked my coverage on something, or it might be something where the client need is so great that even though I can do it, I know that that's not the right decision to put me in the process for the client because they have already outgrown the need just by me being there. So I try to find other people who have like maybe a big team that can go support something. That's really important because otherwise I'm not one of those folks that's always trying to get in the way of money. I've actually walked away from quite a few things because it wasn't the right fit or was something where I felt like I was setting them up for failure just by me, trying to cut a paycheck. And some people try to do that. That's not how I operate with things. I really wanted to make sure that's the right thing for everybody. And so if I want to help them succeed, I need to know where my shortcomings are so that I can say, hey, I'm not going to be the best person for that, but let me help you find somebody that can,
Right.
Put yourself in situations too where you are kind of the weakest link in the chain. So, usually weakest links are somebody's getting kicked off the island or voted off something. But
Right.
some of the best growth comes when you have the very real, clear and present option that you might fail. This reminds me of when I was a young musician, and I would actively try to find older, more experienced musicians than me to play with so that I was the youngest, most inexperienced person in the group. And I don't think your sphincter entirely relaxes during that whole process because
You're right.
it's stressful because people are counting on you to do your job. You learn so much, though. People who are gracious and professional that way, too, will see that. The musician community, especially in Nashville, it can be very kind and nurturing in that way where bring your skill set to the table and they're allowing other people to kind of come up as well. Doesn't mean it's not competitive, but that's how younger players get better. And I've been fortunate to really have a lot of good experiences like that. And if I hadn't had those, I wouldn't be the musician I am today because I wouldn't have taken those risks.
Yeah, and I think Brian's like touching on an important thing too. It's kind of like a sports team. Like you can get like two football teams, for example, and one is rated much lower than the other. But when they play each other, they actually elevate each other's game. And so that's kind of the whole thing. Like you're bringing other people up. And that is important as well.
One of the reasons why the space race back in the 60s and things was, I think, so cool because it pushed everybody to, achieve greater and greater things that we never thought possible for, minus all the Cold War and other things going on, dynamics that politically were going on. That type of thing, though, kind of united the human race, especially, say we can go do this, and it pushed each other toward greatness. So closing thought, remember the words again that we started with Malcolm Forbes. Failure is success if we learn from it. And remember, put yourself in a situation where you can fail, in an arena where you want to get better. Don't be afraid to take that risk because if you're not failing, you're not growing. So be sure that you're choosing those things wisely. And always choose to, if you fail at something, do it in a worthy pursuit. I guess until next time, we can put a comma in the conversation here, Josh.
Yep, I agree, Brian.
All right. So until next time, this is Brian.
And this is Josh.
For Curiosity Continuum.